All right, Assalamu alaikum, guys. Now we're going to resume with exercise 509. I know we started yesterday, or the day before, but it is such an important topic that you need to be well acquainted with the technique of factorizing. So I'm going to run through a whole list of examples straight out of the book, and you need to finish this exercise, and you should also finish the chapter 5 diagnostic test and the chapter review, so that when we return to school, we can do a little test so we can see that we've grasped this topic, because this is one of the most important topics. So just be aware of that. Let's get started. So, as you all know, when it comes to factorization, you have to always look out for the highest common factor. That's what HCF here stands for. We're looking for the highest common factor. In this series of examples, we've got factors which we're looking for that are numerical. Like factorization could require numbers, it could require pronumerals. You have to make your mind aware as to what you're trying to factor out here. Now, you can guess at a first glance. If we look here, we have the numbers 6 and 3. Okay, and we look at the common factor, or the HCF, of 6 and 3. All right, so what divides both 6 and 3? Now, if I look at the factors of 6, 1, 2, 3, 6, and with 3 we have 1 and 3. Obviously, we don't do it this way. This is what should be happening in our heads, in our minds. But I can see that the highest common factor here is 3. 3 divides both 6 and 3, and it's the highest number that divides 6 and 3. So by that, I will do 3 as my common factor. Okay, and then I literally go 6a divided by 3, which will become 2a, and 3 divided by 3, which will become 1. In addition to that, we see that there's a negative here, so write the negative. That's factorized now. That, if we were to reverse it and expand this using the eyebrows technique, then we will get this answer. So basically, we're just doing the reverse of expanding brackets. All right. Like I said, you don't need to write this out. If it helps you in the beginning, write it out, but you don't need to write this out. But the point is that you're looking for the highest common factor for both numbers. All right, let's move on to the next one. We have 5m plus 20. So the numbers I'm observing are 5 and 20. So let's look at the highest common factors. 1, 5. For 20, we have 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. And we're looking for the highest number that's common to both, and we can see that it's 5 for both. So that gives us 5, okay? And there's nothing else that we can take out as a common factor. Now all we do is 5m divided by 5, that is going to be 1m. And then 20 divided by 5, which is 4. And then finally, we have a plus in the middle, so we put plus. And that's it. All right, in the next example, we have 10 and 8. So we're going to look at the factors of 10. 1, 2, 5, 10. And the factors of 8. 1, 2, 4, 8. So looking at both, I can see that the highest common factor is only 2. So therefore, we factor out 2. Then we do 10 divided by 2, which is 5. And then 8k divided by 2, which is 4k. And that's that. So that'll help you to answer the first question. Now the second question, factorize each of the following. So we have xy plus 5y, m squared plus m, and 3ab plus 5bc. So let's have a look at xy plus 5y. The first thing we'll notice, there's no number here. All right, there's a number here, but there's no number here. So sometimes we're not factorizing the numbers. Sometimes it's a little bit easier. What I do notice is that they both contain a y. So I will factor out the y. All right, so notice that the y gets pulled out to the front of a bracket. And then inside my bracket, I just write down everything that's left behind. And you can see that everything that we didn't factor out is x plus 5. And that's done. Potentially, that's even easier than the previous question. All right, so if you need to clarify, just go over that video, that section of the video again. Let's move on to the next one. All right, now I've got a little trick for you here with m squared plus m. instead of writing m squared in the beginning, until you get really good at it, instead of writing m squared, write mm. All right, this is the same as m squared. It's just a tactic to help you to factorize. And now look at both terms. There's no numbers at all here. What we're looking for is what's existing in both terms. So this is a term, that's a term. What's existing in both? And I can see that there's an m existing in both. So let's pull that out as a factor. All right, that means I've pulled it out here and pulled it out here. Now, if I've pulled out this m, I have to replace it with a number inside of the brackets. But let's look at what's left behind me. So we have m, we have plus, and then it seems like, all right, we took our m out. What do we put in place? What you have to do is ask yourself, what is m divided by m? And anything divided by itself is going to equal to 1. So when you fully factor out a term, then you just replace it with a 1, just like what I did here. And that's that. All right, and let's look at this final example in this question. So 3ab plus 5bc, we've got an assortment of letters and numbers here. If you notice with the numbers first, they're not common, so I'm not looking at any numbers to factor out. But I do notice that they both contain b. Well, guess what? B is going to be what we factor out. So let's factor out that b. That comes here, that comes here. Then there's nothing else to factor out. Inside the brackets, I'll write everything left behind. And you can see we left behind 3a. And here we left out 5 and c, so 5c. And that's it. So it's pretty straightforward topic. That's all we need to do. So in the first question we did factoring out numbers. In the second question we did factoring out letters. Well, in the next question here, in these three, we're going to be factoring out numbers and letters. So let's have a look. 5x plus 10xy. Let's observe the numbers first. 5 and 10. So like I said, you should be doing this in your head, but let me just assist for the time being. Let's look at the factors of 5 and 10. So firstly, for 5, we have 1 and 5. For 10, we have 1, 2, 5, and 10. I can see the highest common factor is 5. That means I'm going to be factoring out of 5. Second to that, I look at the letters, and I notice that both terms have x. Well, guess what? X is also common. You take that out. And now you open a bracket, and now we do the division. So we go 5x divided by 5x. So what did I take out of this? I took out everything. I took out the 5x completely, as you can see. So 5x divided by 5x is 1. Remember, when you divide anything by itself, you're left with 1. And now here, to break it up, 10 divided by 5 is going to be 2. The x has been taken out, and the y has been left behind. So let's leave the y behind in the bracket. And then we have a plus in the middle, and that's it. That's how we factorize. All right. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Replay if you need to. Pause the video, take your time, practice the question yourself. Do whatever it takes to understand this. All right, the next question. 6pq minus 12q. Let's start with the numbers first. So we have 6 and 12. 1, 2, 3, 6. 12, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12. Now I can see the highest common factor is 6 for sure. So we take out 6. Then I look at both terms and I see if there's the same letter in both. And we can see that q is common to both. So let's also take out q. And then I do 6pq divided by 6q. What's easy about this, you just write whatever's left behind, and that was the p. The p was left behind. Then we have minus. And now we do 12 divided by the number, which is 2. The q has been taken out, so there's no need for that. And that's it. There's nothing else to do. And that's my answer. All right, next one. I'm going to rewrite m squared as mm. All right, let's start with the numbers. So with the numbers, I have the factors of 1, 3, 9. And 6, we have 1, 2, 3, 6. Let me just move that up a tad. All right, so with that, we can see that the highest common factor is 3. That means I'm going to take a 3 out. If I look at both terms, I have an m that I can take out. I can't take out both m's. I can only take 1m from both. So that means we're left with we take out this m there as well. In the first term, 9 divided by 3 is 3. So always do numbers with numbers. And then I left behind this letter m. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And we've got a negative in front. And that m is already taken out. And that's that. All right. Now let's look at these three. So notice we've got 3 terms here, but the idea is the same. We're just looking for the same number or the same letters. That's all we're looking for. And if we look at the first one, that one's very clear. You can see that 6 is in all 3. So let's just straight away factor out the 6. 6a divided by 6 is a. 6b divided by 6 is b, and that's positive b. And 6c divided by 6 is c, but there's a negative, so it's negative c. And that's it. All right, the next one, a bit trickier. We have 3 numbers, 5, 10, and 15. I need to think about what number divides all 3 numbers. It's very easy, like you should be able to see it straight away. And if your times tables are good, you will see it straight away. But if not, you're gonna have to write down all the factors as I'm doing right now, and then figure out what is the HCF of all 3. And with that, you can see clearly that 5 is the HCF of all 3. So that means 5 will be a common factor. I check for letters. I don't see any letters, so I don't need to split this letter here. I don't see a letter on this one, so that means, okay, there's no common letters. And now I can just open the bracket straight away. And then the first thing I do is 5m squared divided by 5, which is m squared. 10m divided by 5, which is 2m. And 15 divided by 5, which is 3. All right, nice and easy. All right, now the next one, I look for numbers that are common. I see that no numbers are common for these 3. There's not even there's no numbers on those 2, so therefore there's no common factor for the numbers. But if I look at the letters, I can see a T in all 3 of them. There's a T in all 3, so we have T as the common factor. And then I'll write down everything that's left behind. So firstly, we have left behind the 5. In the second one, we have left behind the W. And in the third one, we've left behind an X. And there we go. That one was even quicker. So you'll find that if you're doing the letter questions where you have to take out the letter, you might answer the questions very quickly. All right, now finally, we have negative factorization. So what happens when the first term has a negative on it? Well, we're going to factor out the negative. And that's the first thing I want you to do. I want you to just write the negative. Then focus on the numbers. So the numbers are 2 and 4. So here, 2 and 4, we have 1 and 2. 4, we have 1, 2, and 4. And I can see that the highest common factor is 2. So that means I'm going to take out a 2 as well. And now, all I have to, there's no letters. There's no other letters common. So now all I have to do, ignore the negative for now. Let's just do the numbers. We do 2x divided by 2. And 2x divided by 2 is just x. And then here, 4 divided by 2. That's 2. Pretty straightforward. Now, here's the catch. That was negative. So I took out the negative, meaning the inside is no longer negative. All right, so replay that to understand that. This is also negative, but I factored out a negative. Therefore, that negative will now change to a plus. So when you factor out negatives like this, you change the signs of everything in your resultant bracket. So everything in here became positive when before it was negative. All right, replay that a few times for you to understand, but that's the answer there. The next question, negative 3 cubed plus 3. If we look, we can see firstly there's a negative on the first term. So let's start with that. We'll factor out the negative. Oh, oops. We'll factor out the negative. Now, if you look at the numbers, they're actually identical, so that makes it way easier. If the numbers are the same, you just pull out that number. There's no need to think. And now finally, you just do 3q divided by 3, which is q, and 3 divided by 3, which is 1. Write those in. And going off of the previous question, what I said about taking the opposite sign, well, if you notice this is a plus, we factored out a negative, then that means our bracket inside will change sign as well. So it went from a plus to a minus. Whenever you factor out a negative, you're changing the signs. So if you notice, this negative 3q was negative initially, but inside the q is now positive. Every time you factorize, you take out, you actually swapping its sign for the inside. All right, let's try and demonstrate that one more time in this question. So the first thing we're going to do is there's a negative term first, so we're going to take out the negative. And now I'm just going to quickly do the numbers for you. We have 1, 2, 3, 6. And here we have 1, 2, no 2, sorry. 1 and 3. Okay, so with that, let's factorize this now. So we can see that the highest common factor is actually 3. That means 3 is what I'm going to be taking out. If I look carefully though, I also see the letter x in both terms. So that means x is also common. Ignore the negative again. So now we do 6ax divided by 3x. Well, 6 divided by 3 firstly is 2. Ax divided by x, we're left, the x's are gone, but the a has been left behind. So we put an a. And also that went from negative to positive, so that's good. In the second term, 3 we've taken out, so 3 is done. But now we have bx divided by x. That leaves us with b. Bx divided by x is b. And now finally, what of this sign? Well, if I factor out a negative, then the sign left behind will change. So that's a plus in the beginning, but we factor out a negative, so it's going to be negative in the bracket now. And that's that. So basically, you need all of this to answer to finish off the current exercise, which is exercise 509. You will also need it to complete the chapter review and the diagnostic test. So it is highly advised that you, after completing exercise 509, you go straight to the chapter review and the diagnostic test for chapter 5. You complete them because you have an upcoming exam. You need to be on top of everything that you're doing. Apart from that, have a good day, guys.